Hello, Facebook land or YouTube channel land, depending on where you're listening to this. I'm Stasha, and I'm here today in part of my Living in Flow series. So this whole month we are talking about ways in which you can live in flow. There's no reason to stick yourself into a structureless box where nothing can be done right now. You have every opportunity in the world to start living your life in flow, which means making your life easier and better. The first step to living in flow is knowing where you are in your cycle. The second step is knowing what that means. And today we are diving into the luteal phase, which is one of the phases of your cycle. This is the time between ovulation and menstruation, and I break the luteal phase into two phases. So the first thing, and we'll be reading from The Revolution Will Be Bloody. So the first thing is that you should know about the luteal phase is that this sets you up for the rest of your cycle. So what you do during your luteal phase can set you up for the rest of your cycle. It creates the groundwork for everything that follows. You can use this phase to set yourself up for a happy, healthy, PMS-free period or not. Choice is up to you. The luteal phases are both your get cozy phases, and there are two parts to it. So today we're going to focus on the first part, and then when we come back, we'll focus on the second part, the deep luteal phase. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a graph here. This is what's going on hormonally, and this is ovulation, and then this is your luteal phase. And I want you to note, this is progesterone is rising here, your estrogen rises and then dips, and then it gets a little rise again. And then your testosterone rises and dips and then fades out. All right? So basically, we're looking at your luteal phase. Your deep luteal phase is after these start to come down. Your early luteal phase is post-ovulation where you get this dip, but then you get this little bit of rise as a second estrogen bump happens. That little extra estrogen bump is often thought of as a second wind. I myself and my clients and community all will speak of it as a second wind. It's a tying up of loose ends energy, and a lot of times we get that little extra energy after ovulation. We have a little bit of a come down, and then we have this rise. And that's just because our hormones are shifting, right? So estrogen levels dip after ovulation, rise up a little again, and then they dip down to the lowest point right before menstruation. The second rise and descent, along with the decreasing progesterone, marks the divide between luteal and deep luteal. As your estrogen and testosterone levels dip post-ovulation, you lose that confidence that you had during ovulation. That little bit of rise in estrogen doesn't really compensate for the fact that during ovulation, your estrogen and your testosterone levels were peaking. So you're going to feel a little dip in confidence after ovulation. Maybe a dip in energy, maybe just a dip in extroverted activity, but you'll feel a little bit of a dip. And that's just your hormones coming down. Totally normal, absolutely natural, nothing wrong with it. If you know it's coming, great. You can prepare for it, right? So knowing that this is happening can make a huge difference in how you perceive yourself in this phase. And I have this fun little chart in the book where it gives you some examples of during ovulation and then after ovulation. During ovulation, you feel like you look hotter than Beyonce in those jeans. After ovulation, you feel sure that you look like a sausage. You know you can rock your meeting. After, you feel convinced everyone will know you're a fraud. During, you're completely and utterly in love with life. Afterwards, you're feeling overwhelmed with how crap everything is. So it just kind of goes on to show you some differences in what it can feel like between the two. So when you're charting, you'll notice a change in your cervical fluid. You'll no longer have the ovulation cervical fluid. Now you're going to have a different cervical fluid. It might be sticky, tacky, cottage cheesy, nothing at all. It might feel like it completely just dried up. That's because you've just shifted those hormones again. And again, you're not doing anything wrong. There's nothing bad that's happening. That's absolutely natural. The follicle that released your egg turns into a tiny temporary gland called the Corpus Luteum. It pumps out progesterone for 9 and 10 days. So if your egg isn't fertilized, in this time period, your corpus luteum will begin to disintegrate after those 9 to 10 days. This lowers your progesterone levels because that's what the corpus luteum is doing, right? It's pumping out that progesterone. So this is what triggers you into having your period. And that's more towards the deep luteal side. But that little fun fact there is that the 7 days after you ovulate, that corpus luteum becomes one of the most highly vascularized organs in your body. That means rich in blood vessels. So your body builds this organ extremely fast. It's one of the most highly vascularized organs in your whole body for 9 to 10 days, and then it disintegrates. So you build this incredible organ, and then it disintegrates every month. So if you're feeling a little bit tired during this phase, maybe give yourself a break because you're building an organ. Just throwing that out there. All right. So one of the other things that we were talking about is what these phases feel like. So it can feel tiring. It can feel exhausting. It can feel like you're getting a second wind and you've got more energy now and you want to do things and wrap things up. My suggestion is not to start a new project during this phase, but to wrap things up during this phase. This is the moon now was full in luteal. It's starting to make its way to the new moon. So it's that waning moon. And this is your late summer phase. This is your earth phase. So if you want to picture your early luteal phase, picture it as you're walking through the fields, you're harvesting the last of the corn or squashes that have been growing. You're sitting on the front porch enjoying an iced tea or maybe a cocktail. And you're enjoying the sun is setting a little bit earlier, but it's still a long day. It's still hot. It's still relaxing, but you're getting to sit outside on the porch a little bit longer with that iced tea. It should feel like you've done a job well done this month, and now you're getting to start to earn that rest that you've got coming. You're starting to shift into that rest. And the biggest mistake you can make is going from ovulation and just holding on to your ovulation energy by your claws, trying to hold on to the sun and just getting dragged down into your luteal phase. Much better to just slide very gracefully and enjoy and relax down into that luteal phase. All right, we'll be back next week and we'll be talking about your deep luteal phase, and then we'll start busting into how you can use these things to your advantage, what your superpowers are, how you can use it for your business, how you can use it for your clients. There's so much more to come, so I hope to see you in the following videos. And as always, if you need to catch up, you're welcome to jump onto my YouTube channel. Get it? I've got a sample of my book there that you can download for free, as well as my chart mandala that you can download for free as well. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.